So, just the other day, my friend came over, and we're hanging out, we're talking, but he asked me, Drew, what era of rock are we in right now? And I said, what do you mean by that? To which he replied, in the 70s there was like arena rock, there was punk rock. In the 80s there was like thrash metal. I would lump metal in with rock just for the purpose of this argument, but the 90s had grunge, the 90s had new metal, alternative rock was big in the 90s, and then the 2000s you had post grunge. I guess you had more alternative rock. You had emo, right? So like, what era of rock music are we on right now then? And once he explained like what he meant by the question, I pretty much immediately said, we're in no era. Rock is dead. And I hate to say that, I really do, because I am a rock music fan. The reason I decided to leave college to pursue music is because of rock music, more specifically heavy metal music, but I mean, umbrella. And again, I'm very sad to say, but I hate when people are like, rock is not dead, rock is alive and well, or metal is not dead, so on and so forth. Because I just don't think that's true. And again, I'm going to keep saying it, I'm very sad to say that. But I mean, I've met people like in real life, and no shade to them, of course. But I've met them. They ask me like, "What do you do?" I say I'm a musician. Okay, what kind of music do you make? And then I say heavy metal, and then they just kind of like stare blankly at me like, "Heavy metal? What does that mean?" And once again, I am blurring the line between rock and metal here, but you can't tell me like heavy metal is alive and well if people don't know what that is, like as a genre or as a concept. I don't think that like heavy metal was the big popular genre maybe ever. Maybe like in the mid 80s it was pretty big, but if you go back to that time, and I'm only speculating here, but if you were to say like, do you know who Metallica is to some random person, they'd be like, probably, yeah. Or Megadeth, or you go to the 90s, you have like Limp Bizkit or like Linkin Park. People forget that new metal is in fact metal, but But I would say that the average person, average lay person, I suppose, they can't name like a modern rock or metal band, and that just kind of, I feel, solidifies my case that like rock and metal is dead. I feel like there should be a couple like blending into the mainstream type of rock bands, but I don't know. You just don't see it. I mean, rock is a very much larger umbrella term than heavy metal, but maybe that's the issue, is that rock is not specific enough, like as a distinguished genre. For me, rock is a song with, high energy vocals, distorted electric guitars, or maybe, clean electric guitars can be considered rock, but that along with, like, some good, like, pounding drums type of thing, drum kit. If I can hear that sound, I'm like, okay, that's rock. But I don't know. It seems like for most people, and I'm not like, again, throwing shade to any specific group of people or person, but to most people, it's like rock is just anything with guitar, and a lot of music still uses guitar, like here and there. So technically, a lot of music could be considered rock, but I feel like that rock sound is maybe also blended with other styles and genres. I don't know. I feel like I'm losing the point a little bit here. Let me shift back. Okay, so kind of recently in a video I talked about this album that I found. It's called Still Searching by Senses Fail. I'll put it up, the cover right here. It's a good album. It's like a good like blend between 2000s metalcore and again 2000s pop punk. It came out in the 2000s. And I'm listening to this today, and like it still sounds, I mean, it's new to me, but it still sounds like pretty fresh, all things considered. Consider it was released like 20 years ago. And also in that video I talked about the album. I said like, what happens if this comes out today? Like, what would that sound like? What would that mean? And I mean, I talked about it in the other video, but I'm gonna add to that that discussion, because say it did come out today and it was the exact same sounding end result that it was in the 2000s. I feel like I would probably still have the same reaction, where it's like, dude, this is really good. I really like this, but in like the bigger picture, in in society, I suppose you'd say, it would literally just be a LARP of, the 2000s, and it wouldn't. I don't think it would have done as good or reached as many people if it was released today versus back then. And you're like thinking probably, obviously, right? But I really don't think it's that obvious because I still see like rock bands and like metal bands trying to like follow a style that was very popular in a previous decade, and then they like I feel like they wonder like why are we not like getting anywhere with this? And it's kind of a harsh truth, I think, but it's literally because people have already heard that sound before. So now this is like the actual point of the video I'm trying to make here, but the four-piece band, guitars, bass, drums, vocals, that has been done to death since the 70s. I think AC/DC did it really well, and then everyone was just trying to copy AC/DC. Maybe that's just my hot take, but I would believe that there's like over a million songs that are that format where drums, bass, guitar, vocals. I said it in the wrong order that time, but anyways, that's kind of also the reason why I really like 90s like new metal, because they were actually trying to like switch up the formula a little bit without like taking out the main aspects. Like obviously there was drums, bass, guitars, and vocals, but they would throw in synthesizers and sampling, and the thing I really like is like turntable scratching, like I love that because it just added a new element into heavy metal. And I could like talk about the purists and how they hated new metal, but I'm not going to because, I mean, that, in my opinion, is the reason why like metal is in the state why it is. I do think like as a whole, gatekeepers are kind of important, to an extent, but that's probably a whole different video which I can maybe talked about, or maybe I've already talked about. But yeah, I mean, you can't just do the same thing, the same formula, and expect it to be huge and like be something different. I mean, the biggest metal band I can think of, or like rock band I can think of, that's kind of had mainstream crossover, is Greta Van Fleet. And like I can recognize they're good musicians, they have some good songs, but they remind me too much of Led Zeppelin. And I mean, I don't think that was like super. How do I say? It's not like a super unknown comparison or a super like out of reach comparison, because that's like their whole shtick is that they look and they sound like they're from the 70s. But it's like, I don't know, I'd just rather listen to Led Zeppelin than Greta Van Fleet at that point. The comparison does them no favors, especially with such a, revered rock band like Led Zeppelin. And like, okay, the underground exists, the underground will always exist, but that doesn't mean that rock music is alive and well. If like the mainstream crossover bands aren't like hitting as hard as they used to, or just are kind of being picked up and then forgotten, because I mean, I don't know, I haven't been keeping up with Greta Van Fleet because I stopped caring. I don't know, the mainstream needs the underground and the underground needs the mainstream. The mainstream needs the underground because the underground, I feel like that's where new ideas ideally should come to form and then be spread. And the underground needs the mainstream because without the mainstream, there's no like, I mean, I don't know, it's mainstream for a reason. It reaches a lot of people. You get a few, like handful of people who are like really into whatever mainstream rock, and then they delve deeper into the underground. So I don't know. I don't want to hear like rock is alive and well, because that's just a cope. And I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't happen like it used to. And funny enough, I see this same trend starting to happen within hip hop. And I'm saying this because I love hip hop. I want hip hop to be alive and well in 20 years or whatever. So in the 90s, rock and roll was still like pretty, like a mainstream thing. But then a lot of these grunge artists, they died because of their issues, multiple issues, but they died. And of course, like, that is tragic, that's really sad, but without those people, I mean, the big one I'm thinking is like Kurt Cobain. Without Kurt Cobain, like, I don't think that era of rock and roll really reached its potential. It was like, the candle was snuffed out before it could become a campfire or whatever. And literally the same thing has happened with hip hop in the last, I don't know, 10 years, where the big one to me is Juice WRLD. I guess you could also say like XXX Tentacion. They are dead. They're not making music anymore. So I don't know what you call it. Maybe like the post SoundCloud era of rap that they existed in, but I don't think that era of rap really reached its true potential because they are not really here anymore. So, well, going back to rock, I feel like after Kurt Cobain and a lot of these other 90s rock stars passed away, rock just started to meander for a little bit. It had some life in it yet, as we see now with hip hop. It still has some life in it, but with rock in the 2000s, it really, really started to slow down. And by, I don't know, 2015, like, rock was just kind of a novelty genre almost. And I'm saying this because I don't want that to happen to hip hop. But like at the same time, I feel like a lot of hip hop is starting to sound all similar. And like maybe that's a boomer take right there, but I don't know. I think there's some validity. I was listening to this new rapper, and people are being like, "Yo, his beats are so interesting. They're so crazy. They're so weird." And then I listened to him, and basically what they meant is that there's like 3 different beat switches in the song, and I don't know. Again, like that's been done before. It's not exciting to me, and honestly, I think I prefer just like 1 beat per song. I don't know. That's a hot take maybe, but I am afraid that rap is on the same path as rock, and that really sucks because I like both rap and rock. So I mean, what can we do? What can we do? As a fan, I guess just have higher standards, right? If something sounds like something of a past decade, I mean, cool, like great, enjoy it, but like I feel maybe just be on the lookout for actually like innovative stuff, and don't like be, I don't know. I'm not gonna finish that thought because I can't tell people what to do, but have higher standards as a fan. But if you're an artist watching, create some cool weird stuff. And I don't mean, again, like I don't mean just beat switches. I don't mean like odd time signatures and key changes and whatnot. I'd probably talk about this more in a later video, but I think the future of music is sound design. So I guess do with that what you will. Maybe this is like kind of a tough ask, but like as an artist, if you can like identify almost 1-to-1 what your influences are, I think you gotta try to be more original. I mean, obviously, like, influences are the way that people create music, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, pull from a wide variety of inspirations. Because, I mean, once again, comparison will do you no favors. I hope that made sense what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to be, like, too cynical. I can't tell people what to do or, like, how to make their art, but if you're using that 4-piece band formula, I guess just don't be super upset if your record doesn't go mainstream. So, I guess if I made you mad, I think that's a good thing because it's gonna get you thinking about stuff, I suppose. But yeah, I think I've said what I want to say. I'm probably missing some things, so if you want to continue continue this discussion in the comments, I'd love to see it. And I haven't been doing my intro for like the past couple videos, so hey guys, it's Drew. On this channel I mainly talk about music, art, and life, but now I'm signing off, so with that, I'm out. Peace.